So much for tuning in to Entrepreneurial Live interviews with Connie Fuksa. I am Connie Fuksa, and I'm taking these opportunities to talk to people that I know and that I've been introduced to that just have what we would call an entrepreneurial spirit. So it's not always people that own a business or run a business. It's also people who are willing to try. Maybe they want to go out and try something new. They see a need in the community. They're pushing forward or they're pushing over roadblocks. And in this case, this afternoon, I'm talking to a gentleman that wrote a book that is just really cool. I've seen him speak. I've read his book. Very good information, but really poignant to try to get us past some things that we might even be going through right now that you might not even be aware of or be thinking about. And so we're going to have him talk a little bit about that. But right now, I have the distinct pleasure of introducing you guys to a really special guy. His name is Eric Twiggs. Eric, thank you so much for your time today.
Hey, Connie, thank you for having me on your show.
Yeah, we're really excited to talk to you. So, guys, I know we seem to be having a little bit of internet problem. I think it's just going to be slow, so bear with us for a minute, and hopefully it'll pop right back in there. But so, Eric, do me a favor, and I like to start off all of our interviews by talking to you and find out about your story. So, tell us a little bit about you, where you came from, where you are now, what you're working on, and how you got to write a book. Tell us about all that.
So it's interesting. My journey into this thing about overcoming procrastination really started back when I was in college, and it was my senior year, and I was having this conversation with a good friend of mine. I talk about this in the book. His name is Donnell, and he was about his purpose, and I was about the party at the time. And he was saying, "Oh, Eric, you need to get serious." And I would say, "Hey, we got plenty of time to figure all the serious stuff out. Let's go to the party." And time went by, and I didn't hear from him, and I received a phone call from his mother letting me know that he was tragically killed in a car accident.
Oh my
It
goodness.
really changed how I thought about time. That really was a game changer. And it made me realize that we don't have the time we think to leave the legacy that we want to leave. And that really started my journey. And then later in my career, I just started to notice that, I've had 500 people work for me at any given time. And I noticed you can have someone who's a good performer and you can have someone who's a great performer. And in most cases, their level of know-how is similar. But what I found was between good and great was that great person could get themselves to do what they need to do, whether they feel like it or not. They have the discipline of now. So those events and my observations that's what motivated me to write the book.
Wow. That's a stunning story. I never saw that coming. I mean, and I read the book, but I mean, to hear you explain it, it certainly had the gravity of exactly what obviously it must have been like to experience that for you. How powerful. Very sad. And I'm very sorry that you lost your friend. But in everything that we experience as we're talking to different entrepreneurs, you realize that all of these experiences are what creates the human being that we continually evolve into. Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I love that inference. And then when you take that and the name of your book is, I'm sure you have a copy of it right there. You can show us.
I certainly do.
Yeah, of course you do. Very good. And I also posted a picture of that too. Yep, I posted it so we could put a picture of it in the preview for our talk today. But the discipline of now is a very interesting title based on what it speaks to. But more importantly, I don't think I even understood the title until you just re-explained that story about your friend, because it's really about disciplining yourself to act in the present moment and not procrastinate on those things anymore. So talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's people think that there's some hidden secret Sometimes I get asked, well, what's the secret to overcoming procrastination? There really isn't a secret. It boils down to discipline. And that's really the critical thing. And I really feel like my entrepreneurial superpower is discipline. If I were to have a superpower, that's one of the things that, I can will myself to do certain things. But I think discipline is something that you can develop and you can cultivate, and it can really help you to move forward and press beyond what you think are your limitations.
Well, that's really interesting because, we have so many people that talk about when they experience this life-changing kind of thing, when they lose someone very suddenly, and people say, well, now I'm living my life differently because of, what has happened to me. And I realize that we just aren't promised tomorrow, and the different terms that people use. But in your particular case, you took this as a means to share with the rest of us how to take control of that time that we have.
Absolutely. I mean, we just don't have the time we think. So there's something like the number one issue with time management is we overestimate how much time we really have to do things. That's like the fundamental issue with time management. Even something as simple as, let's say your office is 20 minutes away from your house. If you leave within 20 minutes of time, you think you have 20 minutes, but you haven't planned on the fact there's going to be a traffic jam. It could be an accident. Everybody's rubbernecking. It could be raining and everybody's driving crazy. Take those things into account. So it goes into time management. The bottom line is, and I think these times have taught us that we don't have time. We see people that are passing from this tragic illness. We don't have time to mess around and not pursue our goals and go after what we want.
So, and I love that analogy, particularly with what we're dealing with right now, because so many people are like, well, I don't really see it, or it's not really happening to me. So, I'm not really going to worry about it, in all of these different things that they're requiring us to do. But let me ask you this, when it comes to the entrepreneurial side, and you took charge here out of college and said, I am going to change how I do things, and I'm going to write this book, and I'm going to make a difference in my time situation. So when someone talks to you about, so I wrote this book because of this reason, what else do you do besides writing the book? I mean, I assume you go out and speak to people about this concept, because it's not just about the book, but it's about the way that you live, as I understand it, correct?
Yes, absolutely. So in addition to being an author, I do speaking engagements. I do, my favorite thing, and this is where you and I connected, I just love doing workshops with different organizations where we get to talk about the causes and the cure and some of the common things that that people are struggling with as it relates to procrastination. And I get to interact with people. I do keynote presentations as well. I do coaching. So there's a lot of different ways to really get them. That's the most important thing, is getting the message out to people. And the book is just a vehicle. The speaking is a vehicle. But the important thing is that people get the message and they take the next steps.
Yeah, this is really interesting. So what is your so what do you see yourself? Obviously, you talked a little bit about your superpower, but what I want to, I guess, hone in on is, sometimes when I talk about superpower, I talk about what is the thing that makes the hair stand up on your arms, or just really makes you feel tingly when you've really connected with someone, or a event that you've done. Does it surround this concept of coaching people through that procrastination and instead acting on their time right now? Is it that? I mean, what part of that really is your absolute charge for you?
So for me, it's inspiring people to move forward. And what really gets me, like you said about the hair standing up, matter of fact, they're starting to stand up now as I'm thinking about this. But when like now and
There you
then
go.
an entrepreneur will come up to me and say, "Hey, several years ago, I got your CD, and as a result, I've got this business now that I've started." And the funny thing, it's
Wow,
always
that's
during that
so
moment
powerful.
when I'm thinking, man, yeah, and I'm thinking, man, am I really making a difference? Am I having an impact? And then someone will say something like that, and that makes it worth it. It's like being at the golf course and you hit that ball straight down the fairway, and it just inspires you to keep moving.
Gosh, that is such a great nugget because, you know, the whole concept of what we're talking about today is the entrepreneurial spirit, right? And helping people that aren't moving forward because they're afraid or they hit a roadblock or they're, you know, they're just not sure they can do it or they're enough. And you just hit right on the tip of the nail about that in the respect that, you know, we all run into that roadblock, but, you know, there's always somebody out there watching. Like it's funny because I do a lot of live video, as a lot of people know. And so I always have people say to me, "Oh, I could never do that." But then I'll have people say, "Wow, I'm watching you and you're doing a great job." Just like you just said, somebody came up to you and said, your CD or your book had this huge effect on me. And now I'm doing such and such because of you. And those are the things that just remind us that everything we're doing may not be obviously right in front of you. It's not cause and effect directly in front of you. But as an entrepreneur, all we need is that validation every once in a while that there are so many people watching and we're doing so many good things. So I love that you shared that. Thank you so much.
Oh, absolutely. And I try to tell people that it's not just about you. So if you're putting your service out there to the world, there's someone that needs your message, and that person is missing out.
Yeah. You are so right. So I talk a lot about that as well. The message is whatever your goodness, whatever kind of good stuff you understand, and that's where when I do coaching, that's one thing that I work on is trying to pull out of people's heads the information that they do know because we all have so many specialty things that everybody else doesn't know how to do and needs that. So I just love that you're sharing that similar kind of message. We're on the same page there. So tell me a little bit more about you, how you went from college and had this epiphany about the procrastination side of things with the unfortunate passing of your friend to where you got to with the book. So what kind of events led from there to here?
Great question. So initially, my plan was, hey, time is short. I need to be as successful as I could be, make as much money as I can. So I had gotten to a point where, yeah, I had 500 employees. I was this district manager, executive. I was winning awards. And then one day I just saw my reflection in the mirror and the eyes looking back at me with the eyes of someone who dreaded the idea of going into his office. And that really stuck with me. Like, this isn't what I'm really fulfilled by. You know, I'm successful, but I'm not significant. So I started exploring myself and my past to say, what things light me up and make me feel passionate. And it always came back to public speaking. And it was always when I was facilitating or presenting something. So it was just one step at a time. I aligned with Toastmasters. And then the next step after that, I ended up getting with the National Speakers Association. And then I met someone who was a book writing coach. And it just went from there.
Wow, that is so powerful. So, this is so aligned with another speaker that we interviewed. I was just making a note. I apologize because you know it's hard to absorb all of this, like, and get all excited about it, and then write notes too. So I apologize. So aligns with somebody that I interviewed yesterday, who again was in corporate America, was making plenty of money, very self-sufficient. You know, had a great title, had a lot of employees, was jet setting around the world, and then did a very similar thing and said, hold on just a minute. This is not making me happy. I'm absolutely miserable and I'm not fulfilling what I feel like I should be doing for my life. And decided to make a pivot as well, sort of like what you said. So what I love about this is that you could see it. And see, this is what, when we're talking about this whole entrepreneurial spirit, is when something hits you. We talked to somebody last week who said, gosh, I just saw that there was this, I'd been working for an IT industry, and then there was an opportunity to start this IT business. You saw it right in front of you, and it said, no, you're not doing what you should be doing. Let's move you a little bit and let's take a chance. So you took a chance and really dug your heels into what you thought you needed to do to become a speaker.
Yes. The key, though, is you can't allow perfect to become the enemy of progress.
I really like that. That's very interesting. So tell us a little bit more about that. Give us your thoughts there.
Right. So what stops people is they feel like they have to have everything figured out before they move. That, yeah, I know I'm not fulfilled with what I'm doing, but I don't know exactly what I want to be doing, so I can't make any movement. The key is to take small steps in the direction of your passion. Like for me, I knew I wanted to be a public speaker. I didn't have it all figured out, but I just started taking steps. And then a lot of times when you take the first step, the next step starts to reveal itself. So that's really the key. So anyone that's looking to pursue an entrepreneurial path, just take a step. One step could be finding a mentor, finding someone who's doing what you desire to do.
Yeah, I like this a lot because when you talk about the perfection and figuring things out and the mentors, these are, guys, this is such a theme through these entrepreneurs we've been talking about. Mentor comes up in almost every single conversation. I was talking to Michelle Camioni this morning, who's a realtor, and she said, in her business, she's not afraid to call another realtor and say, hey, look, I'm not sure how to do this. And let's see, how we can work together. If you help me do this, I can help you do this. Same is true as you're saying with a mentor. Again, guys, a mentor is somebody that you see is doing something that you would like to do, and you ask them to help you learn how to do it. And they walk you through the steps. You have to not be afraid, because a lot of people have this fear that somebody's going to think they're insignificant or they're not good enough. And so they can't ask because they might be embarrassed. And that's so untrue. I mean, how powerful is it for you, for somebody to reach out to you and say, I really want your help. I want you to be my mentor. And you don't even have to use those words. But if I was to reach out to you and say, I really need your help with this, Eric, can you give me the direction on how you got started by writing a book? And tell us how you'd feel about that.
Oh, I would welcome it. But a lot of times we feel intimidated, especially if that person is at a higher level of success. But I've reached out to people that are doing just huge things. And I'll give you an example. Dr. Willie Jolly, who wrote the foreword to the book, The Discipline of Now. And he'll send me, I'll ask him a question. He'll send me this long thought out response to my question. Man, he has to be too busy to get back to me, but he's been a huge support. But I think that mentorship piece is critical, and it really saves you a lot of time that you can waste with trial and error.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. I think that we're all just, at some point before we realize how powerful that can be, we're all maybe, as you said, intimidated because the person you want to ask for that help needs to have already had some of those successes, because that's the person who's going to give you the successful direction with that mentorship and information that they're going to provide you. So that is critical. The other piece that you were talking about was figuring things out. And I love this concept because I've talked with so many people, and again, this goes back to a commonality that successful people have, is not being afraid to challenge the wall and say, all right, I may have this concrete barrier in front of me, but there's a way to figure out how to get around it, over it, in between it, crack it, break it, whatever it is, just figure it out. Just keep picking at it until you figure it out. Like you said, baby steps, little pieces at a time, figuring it out. And can you give us a little bit more on that? I love that piece along with the mentor. These are like my top two.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a way. And, like people will, oh, Eric, I don't have time to pursue this. I don't have time. There's always a way. There's always time. And the key is, just because you don't know what the answer is doesn't mean there isn't an answer. The answer is there. We just need to follow up, find the right mentors. And I would even say, this would help me. Find a mentor that really stretches you. And like I've had some mentors, they ring up the phone angry with them. They stretch me so much because they think so big. No matter what I say, it's like, you can be doing more. They say, I say, hey, you know what? I'm going to charge this. You're not charging enough. Hey, I'm going to start a month from now. Why can't you start next week? So that's the key. Find someone that's going to stretch you. Find someone that when you hang up the phone, you feel uncomfortable.
I love that. The uncomfort thing is a commonality in entrepreneurship as well. I mean, if you're not doing the uncomfortable, you're not in doing your best service for yourself. Absolutely correct. So that's certainly a commonality. And I love that phrase. I have to look back at my notes, but just because you don't know the answer doesn't mean it's not there. And so, when you're in that struggle, you're in that time, you can't get over that hurdle. You can't move past that. There's an answer over there. You just have to keep working through it to get there. And you can't wait and give it time and not push through that. So super powerful stuff. I absolutely love that stuff. All right. So give me something. So when somebody meets you first, Eric, what is the one thing they've got to know about you? What's the one question that they get most common after somebody sees you speak, works in a workshop with you, or is considering working with you on a one-on-one coaching kind of setup? What is the one thing that people want to know about you, or question that they have about what you do?
Well, they'll ask, so Eric, you wrote the book on procrastination. Do you ever procrastinate? Have you ever had a problem with procrastination?
Well, of course you've had a problem with it, because you wouldn't have wrote the book. Obviously that created a cycle for you. So of course you did at some point and you saw the difference. But so give us what your standard canned answer is for that one.
Let me put it to you this way. It took me 6 years to write a book about overcoming procrastination.
That is a powerful statement, my friend. One of the things I hate doing more than anything else is writing. So that is really powerful. And I can totally relate to that completely. Writing an article for me will take me a week, just because I just can't sit down and do it. Have too much other energy. You're a speaker, not a writer. So I get it. That's really interesting. So you realized you want to go ahead.
Now, what I was going to say, but I learned from that was, again, it went back to that perfectionism piece. That was my thing. I can be the biggest perfectionist out there. But again, I learned not to allow perfect become the enemy of progress, and to focus on not just trying to write and edit at the same time. So I took that and I used that to help me move forward. That's the key.
Very good. Yeah, that's super good words. I mean, going back to what you started, you told us earlier, that's really, really strong nuggets as well. I have another entrepreneur that I interviewed a couple of days ago, who just today, her book is launching, actually. So tell us about the whole book experience. Did you, because she shared with us a little bit about that. So it would be kind of interesting to have another perspective about that. Did you, write and publish it yourself, or did you go through a service? Because there's a lot of people out there that want to think about doing this kind of thing. And so maybe you can give a little bit of insight on that part of your life as well.
Yeah, so I published my book myself just because I didn't want to wait to get picked. If I went to a big publisher, I mean, I really had this idea, and when I was done, I wanted to be able to move forward with actually getting it published and not have to wait for it for someone to select me. So I self-published. I went through Amazon, which at the time they had Create Space that kind of changed up the way they do it. But it was a painless process. But I also, it did help to have a book coach that I was talking to. And again, it really helped to kind of get past some of the challenges with the process.
Gotcha. And I think the lady that we talked to the other day whose book launch is actually launching today, similar kind of situation. She had somebody who was helping her write it, edit it, put it together, but then did the self-publish as well. And I bring that up, like I said, because I think there's a lot of people out there that are thinking about that writing a book would be a really good idea. Or, so many people have said, oh, I should write a book. And I think it's really strong to know that that's a realistic possibility. And there's lots of information that you have that putting it in a book form could be really helpful for so many other people. And it's not such a high in the sky task that it could never happen, especially in the way the environment is now that we're allowed to be able to do a lot of these things ourselves.
Now is a golden opportunity to write that book. I mean, with us being shut in many parts of the country, what an opportunity to really use this time to get your thoughts out and to leave your legacy. This is huge. I would encourage anybody, having now been on the other side of the book writing process, I think it was worth it. I would encourage any entrepreneur thoughts on paper.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think in a way, having a book done, when you go to speak or you are applying for a speaking event, I mean, it's almost additional validation about your level of success or, your level of information that you have to offer. I mean, obviously you had enough information to include into a book in a very thought out way, and it's a very successful book. So it probably gives you another validation of your success, I would think.
Yeah, you're now viewed as an authority in your subject matter.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I've gotten speaking engagement where people saw the book and said, "Hey, I want to have you come in and talk to my group," without even having heard me speak ever.
Nice.
So I definitely think it's if there's an entrepreneur who's on the fence, get off the fence, write the book.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good. And that's the authority piece is one thing that I talk a lot about to people that I'm working with or people that I want to work with. Exactly that. Like, whatever that information is that you have to share that you're really good at, that so much about, that does make you an authority. And most people think, oh, well, I'm not an authority. Who am I? There's so many people that know more than I do. And that may or may not be true. The authority part of it is that you know more than the person you're speaking to. And that person doesn't know, and they want your information. So that's what makes you the authority. Absolutely.
Yes. And then think about this legacy. So think about 40, 50 years from now, grandkids, great grandkids, someone who never met you. You could be long gone, but you now have a book. Your words will just live on beyond you. That is tremendous.
Wow, that is truly amazing and something that I would have never thought of. And so glad that you shared that, because that's, I'm just viewing that, seeing that picture of your grandkids going to take that book off the shelf or ordering it on Amazon or ordering it on, an online version now that I hadn't even really thought of that. So very, very thought-provoking piece there. I really appreciate that. So let me ask you this as a sort of a wind up that I try to ask everybody. Two things. Number one, if you got stuck in an elevator with 4 people and you only had 10 words to describe who you are and what you do, what would that sound like?
I am Eric Twiggs, your procrastination prevention partner. I help you to make more money, get more done, become aligned with your purpose by allowing you to overcome procrastination.
Oh my gosh, that you just have it all down. Most people don't have that, what we call the elevator pitch, quite so perfected. And that was so profound too, which was so good. I mean, like, everything that you said was a very good description of what you bring to the table. So that was really strong. Thank you. I really enjoyed that. Eric, if somebody wants to find you after today, after we get done, how do they find you?
You can go to my website, thedisciplineofnow.com. You can pick up the copy of the book, The Discipline of Now. It's in paperback, it's in ebook format, and it's also in audio. But go to my website, thedisciplineofnow.com, and you'll find my contact information there as well.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, and so in the under the stream, if you just put that in there as well, so anybody can link to it. And then, guys, tomorrow I'm going to have the link for this video, so anybody that didn't get to see it, Eric, you can share it with whoever you want in your audience. I'll be posting that and tagging you in it, so everybody can see it that didn't get a chance to see sit with us today. Eric, I have so many nuggets. I have paper filled with all kinds of things, and I already knew you and have read the book. So just re-energized a lot of those thoughts, gave us a lot of new information, and I think really was a great way to end today with some super entrepreneurial nuggets to spur on those people that might be on the fence or might be stuck in a lane that they can't get out of, or just wanted a little extra thought from somebody who has been there. So Eric, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate you and every bit of your time.
Thank you, Connie. Thank you for having me on your show. And I appreciate everything you're doing to inspire people.
Oh, thank you very much. That's very kind of you. All right, guys. Tomorrow, we don't have any interviews scheduled, but we're going to start back again on Thursday and on Friday. So stay tuned for what those interviews are that are coming up, because we have lots more good information from all different kinds of entrepreneurs we want to share with you. So stay tuned, and you guys stay safe out there. And Eric, I'll talk to you real soon. Thanks again. Bye-bye.
Okay. Thank you.